Welcome to Caleb's Basketball Pod. For this episode, we're going to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder moving on to the NBA Finals. We're also going to talk about the Knicks forcing a Game 6 in Indy. And then, as promised, we will get to our Memphis and Miami offseason, way too early offseason outlook. And we're going to have a lot of days when the NBA Finals kick off between where there's no games. That's where we'll continue going at each team that got eliminated in the playoffs, and we'll give a way too early outlook. And we'll just see where we go from there. But let's start off with, first off, congrats to the Oklahoma City Thunder. SGA was named Western Conference MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP. And just all around, I predicted a long time ago on this pod that OKC would win in 5, especially after seeing Game 1 and 2. I saw exactly what happened. Minnesota winning 3, OKC taking the next 2 after that, and the series being over. That's what we saw. I'm very disappointed that Game 5 we really saw no fight and no effort from the Minnesota Timberwolves. Besides that, I thought Oklahoma had too much talent on that team for Minnesota to really compete. I think Minnesota needs a strong number 2, but I think you also, if you're looking around at Minnesota, and we'll get into that when we talk about them in the way too early offseason forecast, but Anthony Edwards sometimes shies away from the moment in these big games. If he's supposed to be a superstar, the next possible face of the league, you can have someone like that shying away from these huge moments when it gets down to it, because his Western Conference Finals host series performance was just not great. And we did see a lot of double teams, and we saw the early double teams and trying to get him out of rhythm. But if you're a superstar, if you want to say you want to be up there with guys like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, guys like that, you have to figure out these double teams and these defenses, because they're always going to come at you. You're supposed to be the best player. You're supposed to make other guys better. You're supposed to make your teammates good enough that when they double team you and they come after you, you can kick it out. You can get your guys easy looks, easy layups, threes, something like that, as to where they can't double team you anymore. Anthony Edwards didn't figure that out. He didn't do that. And Oklahoma's defense, I give a lot of credit to him. Stellar defense in pretty much about every game. I want to say the defense wasn't great in games 3 and 4, but the other 3 games, they were amazing, especially at home defensively. Jalen Williams really stepped up. I said I think they needed him to be the number 2. I think at this moment he is the clear-cut number 2. And Chet Holmgren, he's doing his role. He's a stretch 5 right now. You have a great core, and just core players of Shea, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. I think that's an amazing thing to have if you're the Thunder, and I think if they keep playing at this level and the defense sticks how he is, they can be a dynasty. They can be like a Golden State Warrior type with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, where they're like a fixture in the NBA Finals for years come. But it's interesting seeing. We'll see if they can keep doing that. I do want to talk about the Indiana-New York series. New York did last night exactly what they were supposed to do. You should have handled your business in games 1 and 2 in New York, or at least one of them. And if you would have done that, you would have been in a better position. But now you're forced to not lose any more games or you're out. But even more than that, you have to win in Indy. Right now, hey, it's great you won Game 5, but it doesn't matter if you cannot win a game in Indy. We saw him win one game in Indy, but then we kind of saw a lackluster finish and performance in Game 4 and just being outplayed down the stretch. You can't have that. That Indy crowd's going to be going crazy because your one game, that Indy crowd has what you had against Boston. So if you're New York, remember how you came out in Game 6 against Boston. That's how the Pacers are coming out in Game 6 against you. I said it before Game 4. They did a decent part on it, but they didn't finish it. But went through the early storm by the Pacers. After you went through that early storm, then that's where you just need to stay in it, get close enough, make your final one in the fourth quarter, take the game home. It doesn't matter if it's by 1, 2, it doesn't matter how many points, you just need that win. And if it goes back to New York for Game 7, I really do think the Knicks will win. So I think this game also, on the flip side for Indy, I think it's a do or die. because then you're putting yourself in a must-win game in Madison Square Garden, very hostile crowd. You have been playing great, and those Norths have been out the window. But it's going to be hard that no Norths sneak in if you're Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in Madison Square Garden. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation. You've played good enough basketball where you don't have to be there. So you just want to come out and try crush the Knicks' spirit, do what OKC did to Minnesota, send them on vacation. If you're New York, you can't allow that. It's do or die. And a lot of it is this pace that the Pacers play with. They're picking you up 94 feet, and they're wearing you down. We've seen Tom Thibodeau go to the bench a lot more than he's done in previous series, even throughout the season, the regular season. And that's because you have to. They're wearing you down. They're putting wear on your top stars, your Bridges, your Brunsons, your Brunson, your OG Anunoby, Cat. They're putting wear on these guys, and you're having to go to your bench. But you're getting good production from DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet right now. So if that keeps happening and they're forcing you to play these guys, and they come in and they feel like they have more energy because they haven't played as much throughout the season, hey, if I'm New York, I'm okay with doing that. If I'm the Pacers, you have slow Brunson down. We see when Brunson's not playing well, New York don't play well. So a big key to this is keeping Brunson down. If he has a bad game, New York almost always loses. If he has a good game, New York somehow, most of the time, always in the game at the end. So you have to slow Brunson down. They had no answer for Brunson in Game 5 in New York. It'll be interesting, again, see the defensive game plan. We've seen New York's defense change. I think this upcoming game we're going to see the Pacers' defense change a bit. Interesting Game 6 on Saturday, and we'll see if we have a Game 7. Now let's talk a little bit about the Memphis Grizzlies. Right now, I think they are a star player away from competing for a championship. I think that John Morant's not a number one on a championship team. We saw Jalen Jackson was one vote away from the All-NBA team, which cost him that Supermax extension. But even then, I think that works out for Memphis. I don't think you wanted to pay Jalen Jackson the Supermax extension. You didn't want to let him go, but you didn't want to pay him that huge of a contract. I think you're better off having to pay him a just regular max, not the super, and then being able to hopefully go out if you're Memphis and find another star. Of course, you want to add your role players. Maybe look elsewhere, get some more 3-and-D guys. But I think you need that number one. I would go strong after a Kevin Durant and maybe some other stars that pop out. And I don't know if Ja's the number two. I think it'd be great to say, hey, Ja's a great number two option. I don't know if he's your number two option. The team, in my opinion, offensively, played better this past season when Jalen Jackson was the number one option. When John Morant was the number one option in the offense looks stagnant. So I think for Memphis, I think you need to find someone to be your number one, your go-to guy. And then I think you do need to think about maybe seeing where everyone's at, maybe defining some roles, maybe defining that John Morant is not necessarily the one or two. He is the playmaker, the exciting play guy that gets some guys involved and gets those big plays that spark the whole team. But maybe he's better as like maybe a fourth option and keeping him in with the bench unit, and that's when he gets his run and his chance to score. And I think Ja's great. I thought the offense was really, really bad for Memphis when he was the number one option. But that'll be interesting to see where they stand on that. Now let's jump to Miami. Let's finish out with the Miami Heat. Miami, they have some good young pieces. There's no denying that. No one can say they don't. They do not have a number one option at all. Bam Adebayo, offensively, not the number one option. Defensively, really good player. Offensively, can have an outburst in a really good game. Tyler Hero, not the number one option. Really good player, again, offensively. Struggles on the defensive end, as was pointed out by Darius Garland. He, much like Garland himself, can be picked on defensively. So if you get the switch and Tyler Hill is guarding you, most of these players would say that's an easy bucket. And that's no disrespect to him. He's a smaller framed guy. He's really not known as a lockdown defender, and guys play on that, especially in the playoffs. And we saw that against for Miami against Cleveland in that first round series. I like Ware on Miami. I think he's really good. But I think anyone else on that team besides those three nearly be trade bait to try and get and upgrade your roster. But at that same point, you have to have a roster worth upgrade. And so you have to have a roster worth Kevin Durant wanting to come and join or Giannis wanting to come and join. And I also really don't know if that's the case, especially if you're Milwaukee or Phoenix. You would want at least Tyler Hero and maybe some first-round draft picks or Bam Adebayo and some first-round draft picks. So at that point, I don't know why a guy like Kevin Durant or Giannis would say, I want to play in Miami, knowing that there's a shot that the best player currently on the team, which would be your help, would not be there because they would have to be traded for you. The good thing for Miami is Pat Riley's really good at trades and negotiations. I think he's going to make a really smart move, and it's going to benefit the Miami Heat. I don't think they're by any means done, and they're not the team to watch. I think they're most definitely a team keep your eye on, and I think Pat Riley has something up his sleeve because they're just mid. They're medium-packed team right now. They're not getting higher than to be honest, they're not getting higher than a 10 or 9 seed. With how they play, they will probably get into the playoffs with this play-in every single year as the 8th seed, and you will probably get swept every single year because your roster's not good enough for the playoffs. Knowing Pat Riley, he's not happy with that, so there's going to be some major changes in Miami in this offseason, one way or another, and maybe staying competitive or maybe breaking the team down if you can't stay competitive and just going for a full-on rebuild. So it's going to be an interesting season for the Miami Heat. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.